Welcome to Pedagogy of a Portrait, Episode 2. My name is Dina Wright, and I am the Content Area Specialist for Technology Integration for Lyon County School District. And I am here today again with my awesome co-hosts. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, Dina. Thank you for having us again. I'm Carrie, and I'm the MTSS Academic Coordinator. So glad to be back.
And I'm Damon Etter, the PD and Data Manager for Lyon County School District.
Well, today, before I get started, I thought it would be fun to share a fun fact a little bit about ourselves. Because last time we were talking about building relationships and getting to know your students. And so we thought we'd share a little bit about ourselves. So who would like to start?
I will go. Fun fact about me is in 2001, I actually had 5 minutes of playing time at the Fiesta Bowl when Oregon State University played Notre Dame at the football game.
Awesome.
It was playing time in the band, but it was still playing time on the field.
That's so cool.
There's my fun fact. Okay.
Fun fact. Let's see. Back in 2016, I guess it was, my sister-in-law and my uncle, we hiked Mount Whitney in one day. Took us, I think, 17 hours. It was 22 miles round trip, but it was one day. Yep. It was tough. It was fun. It was a great experience.
Oh my goch, that's amazing.
What was the next day like?
Not a lot of walking. My calves were very sore.
A lot of ice. Okay, so a fun fact about me is that I am a native Nevadan, and actually my parents were high school sweethearts and also went to Lyon County.
Oh, cool.
Went to Fernley High School. My parents started actually dating when my mom was an 8th grader. My dad was a freshman. And
That's awesome.
Had been married for 40-something years.
That's awesome.
Yes. And I'm an avid runner. I like to run. So.
You guys are both avid runners. I am not.
I'm a jogger. Walker.
All right, well, thank you for sharing. So again, we are Lyon County School District, and we are in northern Nevada, about an hour from Lake Tahoe, and our district consists of about 50,000 people, and we serve 18 schools. That essentially includes 5 smaller communities that range from the smallest being 1,700 residents to the largest being 23,000, and each unique to its own area. So the 1,700 is Smith Valley, and 23,000 is Fernley. And then we also have Garrington and Dayton and Silver Springs. So again, we are really inspired by Carly Strauss and Lindsay Bednar with Douglas County School District. They actually came out with a podcast that Damon and I listened to, and we just fell in love. And they had so many great opportunities to highlight lots of different people in their district, lots of wonderful things going on.
Yeah, and I think we wanted to go, we were doing a newsletter, I think, back in the day, and I think we were trying to kind of change things up. One thing cool with Lyon County is a lot of our teachers commute from Carson or Reno. So with that commute time, it's a great time to listen to some podcasts and maybe catch up on some positive things going on. So I think that was our intent too, is to change it up from a newsletter to actually making it a real voice, which is cool.
Yeah, and really to create that community that empowers teachers and stakeholders with resources that will lead to problem solving and finding that joy in learning and just having some fun and inspiration.
Yeah, but you have to in teaching, right? But shout out to Carly and her team. It's huge inspiration. Thank you, Douglas County, for sparking us. Way to do epic things.
And when we were speaking with them, actually, before we launched our podcast, they said it's the most fun that they've had in a really long time. So we hope that we can kind of do the same. So in our first podcast, when we were wrapping everything up, we teased that we were going to be talking about labeling students and student expectations. We're going to kind of actually shift gears and dive in more so to the to Portrait of a Learner. We want to discuss maybe the history of Portrait of a Learner, the different domains, and then in our next few episodes, talk about each one specifically. So, Damon, can you explain a little bit of the history of Portrait of a Learner?
Yeah, so one of the things just overall with Portrait is it's designed to be, as they're saying, our North Star. So it's organized to be the thing that guides everything we do in Lyon County School District, from policies we implement to curriculum we implement to what students' experiences are. And so it's supposed to be that guiding compass. Hence the reason it's in the shape of a compass is because it's supposed to guide what we do. And Portrait was created not just from a think tank. It was actually created from many conversations between all educators, both teachers, support staff, and everyone that works within a school system, to talking to leaders and administrators, to community members, and talking to multiple student groups. And this happened over the course of about a year and a half through those conversations. And so then from that, in our collaboration with West Ed, who's an educational research partner, they then took all of that collaboration and then put it together into a synthesized document, which is the Portrait of a Learner. And again, with Portrait, it came up with the 4 different domains. And then under each domain are about 3 competencies that encompass everything that was discussed from all of those different focus groups. So again, I think it's an awesome document. As I know, as we've been talking as a team, it definitely is guiding what we do as we're developing all of these different tools and resources for our staff and students. But one thing I think that's important to remember too is it's emphasizing the point that our students are not test scores, that our students are more than numbers, that our students are human beings that want something amazing out of their education. So again, this is just documenting what our community says that students want. So hopefully that covers it. I don't know, any questions, thoughts, disagreements?
Oh, you covered that. Wow. Thank you, Damon, for sharing that history. So let's dive right into the 4 domains. The first domain is learning for life. And the success statement that goes along with this domain is, I am building the skills to be a lifelong learner. And the competencies that came out of conversations when developing this specific domain were perseverance, application, and future focus. The next domain 2, is connected learners. Again, the success statement is, I am learning through my relationships with others. And we touched base a little bit on this last podcast.
Yeah.
And those 3 competencies are belonging, communication, and collaboration. The third domain is student ownership of learning. I am empowered to my own learning. And the 3 competencies are empowerment, self-knowledge, and self-direction. And last is discovery through learning. My learning journey helps me discover new things. And the competencies with this domain are problem solving, joy, and exploration. So today we're going to specifically really think about and talk about those competencies within the first domain, which is learning for life. All right, so talking about perseverance, how do you instill a sense of perseverance with students as they face challenges in their learning journey? And when I say students, that can be any learner.
So I know for me, one of the things we look at with perseverance is developing confident learners. And I think one of the ways I tried to do that was doing a lot of problem-based learning in my classroom. And so one of the things with problem-based learning is you pose a problem and then you create structures and systems for kids to find the solutions to it. And that requires a lot of collaboration. But I always remember I had one kiddo who was afraid to talk in public or do anything because a lot of the problem-based learning had to present to the community. And it was great to watch those students who struggle with that find the confidence to stand and actually present to their community. And they grew from that. So it's just neat to see them build that confidence through that problem-based learning task. And I'm talking very vaguely, but I just thought it was a great way to build confidence within our kiddos. It's giving them the opportunity to go beyond their comfort zone and push themselves a little bit to gain more confidence, say in the realm of public speaking, or even making a phone call to do some research to get some information. They always wanted to send an email and said, no, just call. And then we'd have to develop a script and practice that together before they'd make the phone call because they were really scared to try and make that contact. They just rather email. And so it was really encouraging to watch them when they actually made the phone call, and then they would get the response and the information they needed, and they just felt so joy. So seeing that confidence building, but through perseverance, was fun to watch. So
yeah, and we state that in portrait, right? Being vulnerable, you're supporting them with being vulnerable and knowing that it's okay to make mistakes and encourage them. I heard once, if you don't make a mistake, you'll never make a discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I think so. I mean, like the vulnerability piece is, as a teacher, you've got to create that safe environment where they can take that risk. We talk about risk takers, and if you're not feeling safe and you don't have that relationship, then it's going to be very difficult to take that risk. So.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys have said, and just as I was sitting here thinking, like, learning for life, like life gives us all kinds of challenges, and just like learning how to persevere and not give up. And sometimes we have to change direction or, take a step back and reevaluate what's going on to get past those, whatever those challenges may be. There's all kinds of, we're always learning, and like you said, like not give up, and just, how are we going to face this challenge and move on.
Yeah, because it goes beyond just the classroom, right? We're trying to prepare our students to build that confidence beyond the learning environment, which you're so right. Like it's lifelong learning or learning for life. Like,
right.
Yeah, totally ties together. That's awesome.
And transferring that learning experience to so many different things.
Well, I don't know if this fits in, but like thinking about hiking Whitney, like that was a lot of perseverance. We had to stop, and there was like lots of challenges, rivers and rocks and, big inclines. So, just stopping and thinking about that, and then, what's going to be our next move to continue the journey, I guess.
And I think that's too why it's so important to have that growth mindset, right? We talk about growth mindset. And so how can we, shift to that growth side?
Well, once you persevere through something, you like have like a sense of, oh my goodness, accomplishment. Like I did this, I can do other things also.
I think that's another part of lifelong learning is overcoming challenges. And so once you see that I can do it, then you become more confident. That's such a great point.
And we've been talking about lately, like celebrating more of those successes, right? We talk about celebrating successes, right? And if you take on a task and you set some goals, and you're persevering through different steps, and people are providing you with feedback, and you're taking that on and knowing what it feels like, start to finish, and really knowing what it feels like to learn how to learn. Yeah, I think that's huge.
Well, and even when you don't succeed, I'm going back to your Mount Whitney analogy here because I love that. But even when you don't succeed, perseverance is also like learning from the failure. So can you get back up after you slid 3 feet, from wherever you're climbing?
Right.
Can you get back up and do it again? And going back to my students, like when the phone call didn't go well, we didn't just give up. We thought, okay, well, what did we do well, and what can we do differently next time? So taking that opportunity to not just get upset with our failures, but learn from those failures to become more confident, which develops your perseverance.
That reflection is huge.
I think it's important as educators. How can we use those little, teachable moments? How can we use those teachable moments in the classroom when our kids do fail to highlight, like, it's not a failure, that's a learning moment, and just changing that mindset, like you're saying, oh, it's all coming together. That's kind of cool.
All right, so let's talk about application and transfer of knowledge. So how can we provide strategies to encourage students to apply what they've learned in class in the real world? What does that look like? What does that sound like?
I think that's a I don't know if it's a tough one or a funny one, but because you hear a lot of students say, well, when am I ever going to use this in a real world? So making those connections, like when are they going to use these skills, and when does it apply?
Well, I think creating those tickets out the door, I was thinking about those really quick formative assessments. I used to do those in the classroom where like your ticket out the door is this statement. I was a little sticky note or something, and I would collect them as they left because I just wanted to see what they took away. But I think that would be a great thing to end every class with. Like, again, I'm thinking from the secondary level, I guess, but what is your ticket out the door is to say, how does this apply to your world? And then that's what, as a teacher, you can collect that just to see that students are making that connection. And if they're not finding that connection, then maybe that's where we need to reteach. Because again, we go back to, if it doesn't have meaning to them, then the learning won't stick. How can we make sure that our kids are constantly making that connection to their future world? Again, application. If it doesn't apply to them, it's not going to stick. And there's a ton of brain research to support that too.
I was talking to my husband, actually, who is an amazing 8th grade math teacher at Silverland Middle School, and they're talking about slope-intercept, and he was talking about different examples to share with students to bring real world experiences to make that connection. And he was talking about when you jump off the diving board, what's that slope-intercept like? Or he had a couple of other examples, or when you shoot the basketball, right? What is that like? And so getting them even an opportunity to visualize maybe what that might look like, so he can make that connection. And I said, well, you should have them come up with those examples too, right? And because some kids are athletes and play sports and know what it's like to shoot a basketball, and some swim and some do things that are very different. So how can they come up with an example to make that connection themselves too?
It'd be kind of cool, in that, to have them actually go and teach their classmates. It takes away maybe from the math instructional time, but it'd be kind of cool to go to the gym and now we're all going to shoot baskets. Yeah. And I want you to think about it. That'd be kind of a cool thing too.
But really, that would probably take 10 minutes quick.
Yeah, and it's movement, and the kids, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, and they're probably going to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were, it wasn't just on a piece of paper, trying to solve the problem, but they were actually putting it into practice, applying it.
And then it even goes back to our previous competency of perseverance. If you're not I'm not a sports person at all, but it goes back to perseverance. If I can't make a basket, we got to keep trying and keep going, and that encouragement. So that even applies back to that. My goodness.
So that's really some food for thought. I like that, right? When we're lesson planning, when we are diving into that content with our students, how are we going to make this relevant so we can bring this to that long-term memory to make it stick, and so that they can take those moments and those experiences and apply it in lots of different areas of their life, right? Outside the four walls of their classroom.
But I think it's also, again, we're not, teachers and educators are not just curriculum implementers. We're not there to read a script. This is where, again, you can deviate from that script and think about how can we add a physical connection to that learning, like in math, or if you're learning about, I think of our iReady curriculum. Sometimes you have cultural components that are built into that. We were talking about, mangoes or something, or use that some fruit. I know I've seen that in some of the different lessons I've observed, but actually bring a mango into kid, and have the kids try it and eat it. Because how many of our kids maybe have eaten a mango? I don't know. I guess that's where relationships are important, so you can figure that out. But I think creating that real world sense activation, so then when they're engaged in the math, when you're talking about mangoes, they have a connection to it. They're able to apply it. I don't know. I think there's simple things you can do. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but it's just taking those moments to apply those real world applications for our kiddos.
Bringing the art again
into teaching. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's last talk about future focus. What role do you believe self-reflection and goal setting play in fostering lifelong learning habits among students?
So I think with future focus, like you said, it's goal setting, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with application. Again, we try to apply it back to their real world, but then with future focus, how is this going to help you in whatever your future career goal is, or college goal is, or whatever your plans are after high school? Always trying to tie that back in to their future goals. I don't know. How did you work with your students to have those college or career discussions, or planning, or dreaming? It's hard because I think at the younger grades, I remember I wanted just to be a police officer. That's my dad was a police officer, and so I was going to be a police officer. But then as I got older, I was going to college to be a dental hygienist, and realized I didn't want to pick up people's teeth the rest of my life, and so I became a teacher because I definitely enjoyed education and learning. So But I think of like, we had classes and I was always thinking about, again, future goals. I remember in middle school, we had to do a career exploration project where we actually got divided up by career categories. And then we had to then actually do a research project on our career field that we were exploring. At that time, again, in middle school, I've changed a ton of times. In middle school, I was going into brain biology at that time. But it was fun because I got to explore all these different things. And so I think of my experience in school and all these opportunities I had to explore those pieces. And I know in high school, when I was teaching high school, we had portfolios, but when I taught econ or when I taught social studies or government, we always were talking about, how would this, if we're looking at government, how would this impact your ability to pursue your career or your college? We're always having those discussions just here and there, but it always tied back to the college and career goals that students have. I don't know. Did you guys have other experiences, or I know you're more elementary, like?
Yeah, I think with elementary, what's so great about that age level is that, there's so many new opportunities for learning about all sorts of different careers. And again, that's where science and social studies comes into play. It's really important, right? Building that background and giving them lots of different exposure to many different topics and ideas. And, one day at elementary, first, second grade, they might want to be, a scientist, and the next day you might be reading some sort of text and it might change their mind. And so I think when you're at the elementary level, really just exposing them to as many different, skills, topics, opportunities as possible, that's where it's key. Because then, as they grow and they develop, then they start to know really what they like, what they enjoy, what connections they're making with different content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and think about them learning, or you learning through your processes. All that you had a chance to self-reflect on all the different things you did or didn't want to do, like clean people's teeth, and just you had that focus. They just all go together, and just in the long run also, we've learned how to self-reflect on things like what worked or what didn't work, or going back to the basketball analogy, oh shoot, I shot it way too high. So taking that moment to self-reflect, okay, this time I'm not maybe going to shoot it as hard or as high, or I'm going to take a step closer or back. So just the application, applying those strategies and skills, and just to move forward in all these questions.
I was going to add, one of the things I'm really excited about that the Lyon County School District is looking at pursuing is work-based learning exploration. So one of the goals as we're moving forward is to increase the number of opportunities for our students to have access to work-based learning. So what does that mean? So when we look at work-based learning at the elementary level, it's bringing in professionals who are police officers, or I even think of DES, or some of the schools have done this where they brought in the Black Hawk helicopter and it's landed on the playground. That's a work-based learning opportunity for our kids to see the military in action, get to walk on a helicopter and say, this could be your career one day. To bring in our school resource officers, or even teaching, teachers are a great work-based learning opportunity as well. But bringing in those people within their fields to the school and letting our kids get to talk to them and interact with them and dream, is this something I'd like to do? And like you said, in elementary, it probably changes every other day. But I just think the more our kids can get exposed to all of these really great career and college opportunities, the better. And that is a goal of our learning community in Lyon County, is to increase that exposure. And so I'm looking forward to the years to come as we are making that a priority for our kids and developing that future focus.
And I like that you say dream, right? Because it really is learning for life. And when you're talking about perseverance, you can do anything that you set your mind to, right?
Yeah.
You set those goals, and yes, you're going to succeed, but if it's something that you really have that.
Another great thing I think also to add to this is, I just found this out yesterday. Within our MAPS resources, there's a whole college career exploration page that takes the student's RIT score which is their in cut score or their in summative score out of our MAPS assessment, and then lets them explore colleges and universities and different careers and what RIT score or summative score in MAPS do you need to pursue a career in there. And it was interesting. We looked at, I think it was construction.
Or mechanics
or mechanics. Yeah, it was mechanics. And we were looking at the math score was like a 222. Now this is as a senior, but the 222 is the math cut score for a mechanic. And which made sense when you look at the skills you need within that mechanics field, like that's the math you're doing. And so I just think it also gives, if we're able to connect that not just to an assessment of, oh, well, you have to take this assessment because it helps us, meet this ACT score, this SBAC score, but no, you're going to take this, it's going to help you see how you're pursuing your goal of being a construction worker or a mechanic, culinary arts career, then I think it just makes it even more relevant and applicable to our students. And then striving for that goal of I want to get my RIT score here if that's what that career is going to ask of me. And then they can also explore colleges and universities if they want to do that. What score do you need to get into the UNR? And then helps them again drive to those goals.
And is that all grade levels?
It starts at 5th grade.
Okay.
So the idea is, again, the younger grades are just taking those MAP scores, but then it starts actually tracking it for the kids from 5th grade on. So then they can start identifying their career, and then it then charts their growth or what they need to do each year from 5th grade on to get to that.
So they select the specific career.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then it takes them through.
Or college.
Yeah.
They have all the colleges in there, or your majors. And it's kind of cool when you look at the majors. It's not always something you have to go to college for, but it could be a career option. Like, again, construction and mechanics are in there.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I like that real world connection because, by the time they've taken MAPS tests, if they've been in Lyon County or wherever, if it's, used in other places, why am I taking this test again? So then they can see the relevance and, okay, maybe this is where I want to go and this is the score I need, so they can look for that, what they need to achieve.
And I like that you say resources too. I just thought of Discovery Education also is one of our supplemental resources, and they offer lots of virtual field trips, right? That can help support some of those experiences.
Another great resource we're piloting this is funded by the state of Nevada, but it's called Career Prepped. I know we got some career and college readiness interventionists in some of our high schools. Maybe Carrie can speak to that more, but it's basically like a LinkedIn account where it starts letting them build their portfolios around the things that they've done, start building their resume. It actually generates a resume. It can tie them into they can actually apply for a job once they graduate. And they get to keep that for the rest of their lives, which is kind of a cool tool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yerington High School and Fernley High School are in the process of kind of getting it started and piloting it, I think, with some of our freshmen so that we can get them kind of going. And like you said, it creates the resume, and then they can list their skills. So if they say they can, type 60 words a minute, they actually have to go through a training video and, explain why or how they know how to type 60 words a minute. And so they have to prove their skills also. And then, it is cool because it will follow them throughout the rest of their high school career. And then into the workforce, they'll have their resume close to, they might need a little bit of adjusting, but it'll be close to apply for jobs. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I remember.
We should give a shout out to Leah and Jim for getting that going with our schools too. So thanks to Leah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move into question and answer. The first question today is, what is going on with HMH? And when I say HMH, for those of you who don't know, it's Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, and that's our elementary curriculum. So semester 1 courses and data is missing.
Yeah, so we're not sure how that happened, but semester 1 stopped syncing. And so then we've been in the process from talking one IT group to then that IT group saying, well, it's this IT group's problem. And so we've been going on this rabbit hunt to get it fixed. I think we're getting to the end of that at this point, and we're hoping to at least get that tier 1 synced back in. But if not, and if you're in dire need of that data, feel free to reach out to me, and then we can pull that information in an Excel sheet on the other side here, and then send that to you if you're in need of that information. Because I know we got grades coming up, and teachers are utilizing that standards-based assessment tool within HMH. So again, we're very sorry that this happened, but we have been working on it. It's just not been a quick fix or as quickly as I would like it done either. So, but our team is working really, really hard to get it fixed and figured out. So thank you to our IT departments for your perseverance in getting that resolved.
The next question is about teacher licensure. So in Opal, do we upload individual certificates or a transcript?
So the Nevada Department of Education would like a transcript to be uploaded. So we have sent out emails. So we have two different systems currently. If you were here since 2000 or 2020? Let's forget about that year. Anyway, it was 2020. So we had our Excel sheet. So you can go into our Excel sheets and then download the transcripts that way. But this year we're using ClickUp. And in ClickUp, there's a whole way to go in and then download your transcript. So if you need any information on that, feel free to reach out to me, and I will definitely get that information to you. Or check your emails. I know we've done a couple emails out on how to do that. So again, if you have any questions, I'm always here to help you and support you in finding the answers.
So next we're going to move into staff and school highlights. The first thing is Carrie and I had the opportunity to work with HMH again, our elementary curriculum, literacy curriculum, and do some walkthroughs with our rep from HMH around Tier 1 instruction. And we were able to go see Miss Hogue in kindergarten, Mr. Turner in 4th grade, and Miss Owens in 3rd grade. And we saw some amazing work happening in each one of those classrooms.
There was some just implementing the curriculum. There was the students were on task. There was different ways that they were learning, whether it was in centers or we saw some amazing discourse in Mr. Turner's class, great conversations, and so it was really exciting to see all of that. So big shout out to you guys. Thanks for inviting us in and letting us come in and see all the awesome things that you guys are doing in your classes.
Great routines, very deep conversations, like you said, in Mr. Turner's class. Lots of critical thinking happening, so that was really exciting. And we also want to shout out Holly Achari from Smith Valley because she was highlighted from Erica's teacher highlight. I know Holly personally, and I am a huge fan. She is such a great leader at her school and actually for our whole district, and an amazing kindergarten teacher. And she's been an educator for quite some time. We also ran together, but I know that when you went to go see her in her classroom, she was working on some phonics and phonemic awareness, and she was bringing in lots of fun activities for the students to engage.
She was bringing in that art of teaching, and she was using the structured literacy, and the students were actually blending by jumping the 3 sounds. So if she was blending cat, for example, they were jumping cut at and then blending it together. It was really cute. Great movement for those little guys to get up and move around. So
love that. That's awesome.
It was awesome, Holly.
And one more shout out.
Yeah, so one more shout out, Sarah Scott, who is one of our interventionists down at Yerington High School. We did a real quick check-in, and she had one of her students that she's been working with just a short amount of time also. She was hired earlier in January, I believe. And one of her students was already caught up on a bunch of missing assignments and went from failing some classes or failing some grades to getting everything in and turned in. So that was exciting. And then another student she'd been working with on absenteeism who had missed, was only coming to school maybe once a week, had been coming almost every single day, following the plan they had set up. And so that was really exciting. So thank you, Sarah, for all your hard work down there in Yerington. We appreciate it.
Go, Sarah. Thank you to all our CCRIs. They're rocking it.
You guys are rocking it.
Thank you for joining us today. Again, don't forget to subscribe and check out the resource links to different strategies, activities, and ideas on how to help you incorporate learning for life in your classroom. And next week, we will be talking about connected learners, belonging, communication, and collaboration.
Thank you, Nina, for another great podcast. Thanks for letting us be a part of this.
Thank you for joining me. I could definitely not do it without you.
All right.
Bye-bye, stay
Have a
strong,
great
and keep teaching.
Bye.